Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a review on the Chanel Reissue bag. Before anything else, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If these are the types of videos that you like watching, I would appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button down below, and if you're interested, follow me on my socials. It's at DLF. So today we're going to be talking about the Chanel Reissue 226. I'm going to be dividing this video into 5 parts. We're going to be talking about the brief history of the bag, the technical specs, pros and cons, wear and tear, and finally, I will be showing Modshots at the end of the video. So for a brief history on the bag. This bag design was actually the original bag design that Coco Chanel designed back in 1955. Hence the name Reissue 255, because 255 stands for February 1955, which is the date when Coco Chanel designed this bag. You may ask why the closure of this is different from the regular Chanel flap bags with the CC turn lock, and that's because the turn lock was actually designed by Karl Lagerfeld when he was brought into Chanel. But the original design of the flap bag was really this bag. So all the elements of this Chanel Reissue, these were all the elements that were in the original flap design by Coco Chanel. So you could say that this bag is for the really hardcore Chanel aficionados already, because you can't really tell that it's Chanel, and generally if you're just getting into Chanel as a brand, you would prefer the bags with the CC turn lock on them. So I feel like this is a bag which takes a different level of appreciation from the customer. Like, you really have to be a fan of the brand to really appreciate this bag, because obviously there's no signs that it's Chanel. There's no obvious signs except for it being a flap bag, and generally this Mademoiselle turn lock isn't really patented by Chanel anyway, so a lot of bags actually use this turn lock. So if you really don't know the reissue, or you're not really aware that this was the original bag design, then you wouldn't really have much appreciation for it as if you did. The rest of the history with regard to this bag, I feel like a lot of people have already talked about it on YouTube, and I feel like it's something that you could easily Google anyway, so I'm not going to be talking about it anymore. These are historical details regarding like the turn lock closure, the chain strap, the interior, and everything else like that. So all of those stuff you can find in other videos, and I'm sure if you've watched reissue videos, at least one YouTuber must have talked about it already. Hence, I'm not going to be talking about it anymore. So next, let's go into the specifications of the bag. So the exact name for this specific bag that I have here is the Chanel Reissue 255 in the size 226, with aged gold hardware and aged calfskin leather. So as you can see, the leather of this has that very crinkled leather effect. Out of the box, even brand new, the leather of this already has that aged wrinkled type of treatment. And I personally think that that's one of the reasons why this type of leather is actually a little bit more hardy and durable. For the hardware of the bag, I mentioned earlier that for the turn lock, this is called the Mademoiselle turn lock, which just simply goes like this. It's similar to the CC turn lock, except it's a different shape. And for the chain strap, it's not the leather and chain woven type of strap, which you can see in the regular classic flaps. This one's just like a pure gold chain without any leather on it, and it's actually called the bijou chain because, as you can see, like, it actually looks like jewelry. This bag also has a Mona Lisa or half moon pocket at the back. I'm not sure the exact term for it, but this is what it looks like, and basically you can put stuff in there. I normally just put paper in there because I don't want it to stretch, but that's basically what it is. And another feature of this bag is that it can be flattened. So as you can see the bottom over here, actually I've already made the base like really flat, so it's kind of hard to fold right now. But basically, as you can see, there's like some kind of curvature down the base of the bag, and that's because originally when you buy this brand new, it comes flattened as so. Like, if you flatten it, it will flatten up and it'll actually be easy to pack. But then I've already stuffed it to make it have this shape permanently, so I'm not gonna flatten it for you guys anymore. But I'm just saying, just so you guys know. So that's where there's that curvature over there, and even looking at it from the bottom, that's what it looks like. So if you compare it to like the regular classic flaps, the classic flaps are actually very sturdy and rigid, so those types of bags aren't really meant to be flattened, whereas this one, because the leather is also softer and more pliable, this is a bag that you can actually flatten, and I feel like if you sit on this bag, it's actually not gonna do as much harm to the leather and the structure because it was designed in that way. So I'll just give you the dimensions and then we'll go into the interior. So I'll just give this all in inches, but basically the base is around 10.5 inches. So the base of this bag is 10.5 inches. For the height, it's around 7. If you stretch it more, it would be like around 7.5. And for the depth of this area, it's at 3 inches. And then for the shoulder bag configuration, I will just measure it separately later and put the numbers down below. You can either wear this on the shoulder or you can wear it as a crossbody bag as so. So you can lengthen the strap, and I will also just leave the measurements down below for the strap drop when worn crossbody. Okay, now for the interior, this is just what it looks like inside. It just has your typical burgundy interior. It has the double flap, as you can see. It has a zip compartment over here, which is actually very useless. You really can't put anything in there. And then opening it as so, this is the main compartment. You have one little side pocket here in the front. You can probably put like receipts there or random paper, as you can see over there. And then inside you just have a lipstick compartment over here and 2 other separate compartments, and everything else is just one big compartment. Okay, so those are the basic specs of the bag, and now I want to talk about its pros and cons. So before I talk about the pros and cons, I want to share like the background of the bag first, because I feel like it's going to give you an idea of like the wear and tear also eventually. So this bag, I got this pre-loved back in 2018. I unboxed this bag on this channel in around 2018, January 2018. But I actually had this bag even before then. But anyway, since I unboxed this bag in 2018, it would have been around 3 years already since I've personally had and owned and used this bag. But this bag, since it was pre-owned, this actually is 16 series. And 16 series means that it was made in the year 2012. So that makes this bag around 9 years old already. So as you can see, the condition of this bag is really not bad for 9 years. A lot of reissues out of the box come looking like this anyway, like wrinkled and everything. So honestly, it could probably even pass as brand new still, considering it's been 9 years since it was made. Okay, now let's go to the pros and cons. And honestly guys, it's very, very hard to think of cons about this bag, because to me, this is the perfect Chanel bag. I mean, I do have my classic medium flap, and that's my favorite Chanel bag. But for me, I feel like in terms of like functionality, in terms of the ways you can use it, in terms of how easy it is as a bag, I feel like this would really win the top spot as the perfect Chanel bag. I've already mentioned it in my previous videos before, but my favorite thing about this bag is really the strap drop of this chain when you wear it crossbody. So this bag honestly has the best size for crossbody. It hits just right on my hips. I am 5'5", so the drop of this is just perfect for my height as compared to the classic medium flap, where it's really difficult for you to crossbody that bag. The classic medium flap for me falls like around here when you crossbody it. And I am personally a crossbody girl. I absolutely love bags that you can easily wear crossbody. So that was the main feature that I really loved about this bag. I love to go to parties, and crossbody bags are the perfect bags for parties, which is why I really appreciate this bag. And I would say that this bag is really my perfect party bag. Since we're already talking about parties, let's talk about the leather. So this is the aged calfskin leather. And why I really like it in terms of parties is because it's very hard wearing, where you don't really have to worry about it if you're out and about, like in clubs or in really crowded places. So if you compare this to a lambskin bag, okay, this is a really funny segue story, but I remember when I had my Chanel lambskin mini bag with me, I wore it out once to go bar hopping. So meaning obviously we were going from one bar to another, and I remember we were walking in the sidewalk going to another bar when my Chanel mini lambskin flap bag fell on the asphalt of the road that we were walking on. And when it fell, that was just like an iconic moment for me. And actually my friends actually Insta storied it, and a lot of my other friends online saw that story when my Chanel flap bag fell, and I was just like, oh my god, like the face, guys. Like, oh, actually, I didn't fall. I fell. I think I fell. So I fell on the road because I think I was walking and I wasn't really looking. And then I fell on the road, and so my mini flap fell along with me. And my worry was really the bag, like not myself, but the bag, because it was in lambskin, it fell on an asphalt floor, and I was just like, oh my god, like my reaction was priceless. All my friends up to this day, they remember that moment, especially since it was on Instagram. Like a lot of my friends still bring up that moment when I cared more about my Chanel flap bag rather than myself. So yeah, that was a little commercial story time. But yeah, with this bag though, you won't have to worry. Like, I feel like if that happened again where I tripped and my bag fell and this bag fell, I wouldn't really care as much as when my lambskin did. Because when my lambskin did, I was just really freaking out. Because I mean, first of all, it's a mini and it's in lambskin, so you can just imagine. Whereas this one, it's very hard wearing. This is the type of bag that I feel like if it falls on the floor, if it falls on the asphalt ground, I'm not gonna worry about it that much. But I'm still gonna worry about it because it's Chanel, but not as much as if it were lambskin. I also like that because it's in this aged calfskin leather, you can't really know the age of the bag. Like, because even brand new, it already comes out like this with all the wrinkles and everything. You can't really tell like if it's old or not. Because if you compare it to like a lambskin bag, out of the box brand new, it's gonna be pristine and clean. But eventually, like after 10 years, it'll probably already have a lot of scratches. It might already have dents. Whereas this one, it already has scratches anyway. So you can't really know if it's like brand new or not. So that's what I like about it. You can't really tell the age because it was really made to look this way. In terms of aging, I feel like the aged calfskin leather of this and the caviar leather would be like in tough competition on which ages better. This is really going to be a tough one to beat because it looks aged already. So yeah, I don't know if like in 15 years it's still gonna look the same, but we will see. But so far, I like how this has aged, which is why I really love the leather on this one. Next pro, of course, is how subtle this bag is. I just absolutely love how quiet this bag is. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you won't really know this bag unless you love Chanel, like unless you're a really like hardcore fan. I absolutely love that it's just this Mademoiselle turn lock. This bag is so understated because of all the elements that it has. It's not shouting and screaming, I'm a Chanel bag, nothing like that. And I really love understated bags. If you saw my bag collection, I love the Fendi PEEKABOO, which is obviously another understated bag as well. It has the same Mademoiselle turn lock kind of thing going on. But yeah, I really love understated bags. And I would say that in terms of function, since it's an understated bag, this is a bag that I would usually wear when I want to wear a Chanel bag, but I don't want like flashing CCs all over it, you know. I feel like there are occasions for Chanel bags that scream Chanel and occasions where it's just better to be like very quiet and understated. So for those occasions, I really prefer to wear this bag. So by those occasions, I mean like funerals, anything where, you know, you don't want to call too much attention. So yeah, I've worn this to a funeral once because a Chanel bag looked good with my outfit, but I didn't want people to know that I was carrying a Chanel bag. And I would also wear it, I feel like, to places where I feel like people would judge me for my bag, but I still want to wear a Chanel bag. So those are the kinds of places that I would wear this to. If you're going to a humble gathering where you don't really want to call too much attention, but you still want that Chanel look with your outfit, then this is the perfect bag to wear. Next pro is the size. So this is the Chanel 226, which is kind of like the medium in the reissue line. So in terms of like the classic flap, I would say that this size is in between the Chanel classic medium large flap and the Chanel jumbo flap. So I think this is actually the perfect size because the Chanel medium flap actually fits very, very little. In the medium flap, I can literally fit just like my basic essentials, which is like wallet, charger, phone, lipsticks. I think that's it. And while this one, I can actually use this as a travel bag also. I brought this once to a trip with me, and I was also able to fit a book inside along with like my passport and my essentials, wallet, and everything else. So I feel like this is like the perfect size actually. If they made the classic Chanel flap in this 226 size, I think that would be perfect, and that would be like the perfect size for a classic flap. Next, I want to talk about how light this bag actually is. Well, like the leather part is really light. The chain is a little more on the heavy side, but if you look at the leather, if you compare this with like the caviar leather is way heavier than this aged calfskin type of leather, which is why I feel like this just a very functional and easy bag to use compared to the caviar, because the caviar is heavy, and if you have like the jumbo caviar bag, a lot of people say that that bag is actually very, very heavy. So it's probably like a pain to use. Whereas this bag is actually really, really light because of the leather. And I think that's one of the reasons that contributes to it being such an easy bag for me to use. Because it's so light, which makes it really convenient to use and to carry. Okay, now for the cons. And honestly guys, it's very difficult for me to think of cons for this bag because it's really a perfect bag for me. I feel like the thing that is probably the most con out of this entire bag, like I'm just nitpicking at this point, but it would probably be the chain straps. So as you can see, it's pure chain, so there's no leather intertwined with it. So when you're wearing like a sleeveless top, let's say here, and you've been carrying it for quite a bit, and especially if your bag has a lot of stuff inside, eventually after you wear it, there will be marks on your shoulder, only if you're wearing like a sleeveless top. So there will be marks for sure, like a lot of marks, because the chain is just all metal and it's just on your shoulder the entire time. And if you do fill it in, it could get quite heavy. Probably not as heavy as like the jumbo and then caviar, but yeah, this will most probably make a mark if you wear it like that, and it might bother some people, but for me, not really. But yeah, that's probably like the most that I can think of as a con for this bag. Okay, now for the wear and tear, and this is gonna be another difficult thing because I can barely find any wear and tear as well. So again, this bag is a 9-year-old bag, but wait till you look at the wear and tear. It's like it was just like 3 years old or 5 years old. First, the corners. And guys, on a normal day, the corners of the classic Chanel flap bags are the first to go, especially in like the classic line minis, medium, jumbo, especially in lambskin leather. The corners would be the first to have like wear and tear. But this one, the video before this, I unboxed a lambskin jumbo bag, and you guys can look at the wear and tear of that. And that bag is more recent than this bag. So this bag is way older than the bag that I just unboxed. But since that's lambskin, you can see there's wear and tear on the corners of that one. Whereas this one's already an old bag. But guys, I'll just give you close-ups. The corners of this are still in great shape. No scuffing, nothing. Like, it's still in perfect condition. If you compare to the lambskin bag that I had, you really can't compare the corners of that with this bag. The next sign of wear and tear that I noticed, and I feel like that's the most obvious sign with regard to wear and tear, and most of the reissues actually have this problem, and it's the top flap over here. So as you can see, the top of this flap is already starting to point a bit. And I know that for some people, those who really don't take care of their bags, and especially if they cross-body the bag a lot, the top flap really folds into like a almost triangle shape. Like it's actually like a paper that you fold like this. Whereas the classic flap bags usually retain that curved shape. The reissue, because it's a softer leather and more pliable, this is eventually what will happen to most of the bags. So brand new, this flap bag comes like with this perfect curved flap, but as you wear it over time, this is what happens to the tip of it. So as you can see, like it's a more defined line on the flap of the bag. But if you take care of it, it'll take a while before it actually gets that pointy. And considering the age of this bag, it's not that pointy yet as compared to other bags that I've seen with the same age. Next wear and tear that I noticed is the hardware. So since this aged gold hardware, there's actually like a bit of tarnishing already. But for a bag this old, I can't really fault that because even my old Louis Vuitton bag already has tarnishing, and that's like younger than this bag. My Fendi PEEKABOO also has tarnishing. So yeah, it's just like basic gold tarnishing, and it's obviously because it's already been used a lot. So that's another thing that I've noticed with it. And then when you open the bag, obviously another wear and tear that you will see is the flap Over here, as I mentioned earlier, this creasing is because of the fold, the pointy fold on top of the flap as well. So that's another inevitable sign of wear. And the biggest wear and tear that I can actually say for this bag, which involves stitching, is over here. Again, I will just zoom in everything. But if you notice, if you look at the back of this bag, there's two big stitches on each corner, which basically stitches the double flap part to the interior of the bag. And as you can see, when I zoom in, that specific stitch on one side has already popped. So that, I feel like, is normal wear and tear, because if you often open and close this flap bag, you're obviously going to cause friction on this corner where the stitching is. So because you open and close that area a lot, then eventually there's going to be pressure on that stitch. So I feel like that's one of the reasons that it popped. Though that stitching is a big element of the structure of this bag, so I feel like that stitch, that pop stitch, is something that I really have to fix soon, just so that the structure of my bag is retained and that it won't like fall into pieces or anything. I mean, like, you know, considering it's a very small pop stitch, like it's not the entire stitch yet that's been popped, so it's like one strand, I think. So I think the actual stitch can still survive with this bag, but this is something that eventually I would probably need to get restitched, just to be sure that I am able to maintain this bag in pristine condition. Sorry guys, but I also forgot to mention that another sign of wear and tear is on the flap. In the front, it looks okay, but on the side, there would just be like a little bit of lifting, like the corners of the flap would be a little more lifted on the sides of the flap. So I would say that it's only on both ends. So as you can see, it's not like that straight line anymore. It's very minimal. It's a very minimal sign of wear. But I felt like I needed to mention it anyway, just so you guys know about it. So with constant opening and closing of the flap, especially if you always handle it like on the corners, these corners would end up like lifting up even if you close it as so. So what I would recommend is, see, as you can see, if you look at it on the side, these corners are a little bit lifted. It's not that drastic, but that's something to take note of anyway. So I would suggest that if you use this bag, if you lift it up from the inside. So this is how you open the bag, so that these corners wouldn't really have so much stress to them, because if you keep on lifting it from the outside, then they would eventually like have that lifted effect, which is not a good look. So that's another sign of wear that you may probably want to prevent. So there, just handle it with care when you open the bag. So that was it. That was my full review of the Chanel Reissue 255. All in all, I really love this bag. I feel like it's the perfect bag for me. It's the perfect understated bag, and even if you don't want to go for the understated look, I feel like it generally is a great bag for everyday use. It's a very multifunctional bag. You can use it from your daily errands, daily wear. You can use it to events, you can use it to parties, and you can even use it to smaller gatherings. Basically anywhere, you can use this bag for every single occasion there is. And that's something that I really attest to, which is why I really love this bag. the reissue was really essential in my wardrobe, and as much as I have the classic flap, I feel like the reissue was a totally different design and it serves a totally different function. So for me, despite having the classic flap, I feel like the reissue is still something that's very essential. I still think that each serves its own purpose. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you were on the fence on getting a reissue, I hope that this helped you in making that decision. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button down below to help the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I would really appreciate it if you could. If you're interested in following me on my socials, it's @TrishDLF, and I will see you guys soon in my next video. Bye!